mean, when you take and you multiply what you just said and take a look at everything that's going on in this country, it's scary. And you wonder, people talk in terms of conspiracies and this and that, and they make big issues about them and that, but they are happening. We have to take a serious look at where we're going in this country. And the things that are happening are being surfaced by persons like yourself. We have to make the public aware that we've got a serious problem here. And when you can take the life of the president and do whatever you want with that, from that point on, there's nothing else that has to fear you.
And it's that level of fear on those corporate structure parts that just indicate that there's a huge cultural shift coming that I've seen over the last year. You know, since we talked in this documentary that I've been shooting, what I've found is that there is something larger going on that is phenomenal. That will, as you said, left, right's an illusion, all that. We're somehow having this ability to see past these illusions, to see past these power structures that will just, I think, tear down the wall.
To me, the most exciting thing is the rising potential to do something about these problems. Up until fairly recently, I think most people, even those who are aware, have been running around like chickens with their heads cut off, not knowing what to do about it. And the exciting thing to me, Alex, is that now we're talking sense to people about what are we going to do to reverse this trend, and talking very realistically in terms of coming to power. We know that we can't do anything as long as our solution is to write letters to our congressmen. Congressmen, for the most part, are the problem. The grand design in those days was the development of U.S. foreign policy, which was to get rid of U.S. sovereignty, to create a true, what they now call fondly, the New World Order. And in order to do that, they needed to scare the American people with the threat of atomic holocaust. That was the grand design. First thing to observe, I believe, about this is that the ones who are making the decisions, that's not everybody in the organization structure, but the ones at the very top are very smart people. They're intellectuals. They're well read. They're well versed in history, and they're philosophers, and they have an ideology that they have thought through. They're completely aligned with it. They have allegiance to it. Once you understand what their ideology is and what their goals are, then that's when you begin to predict what they're going to do and what they're going to say. Because, like an actor, you can put your own mind into that set. And
that role.
Say, what would I do if I believed that? The one aspect of the many things you covered that really stuck in my mind is the truth that in the beginning, there's always some kind of an high ideal that drives these men and these women. They're always going to do something for, and here's the key phrase, for the greater good of the greater number. And that you're going to find that element behind all of the different variants of collectivism. And I think when we're talking about something like this, we have to recognize the common denominator of all of these ideologies of communism, fascism, Nazism, socialism, all of these things that we know historically have proven to be horrible conditions systems under which to live. The common ideology beneath them all is called collectivism. And the keynote, or the cornerstone, I should say, of collectivism is this thought that the individual must be sacrificed, if necessary, for the greater good of the greater number. And it always starts off with this justification. Well, it's too bad we have to sacrifice this person, or that minority, or those 3,000 people, or those 2 million people, whatever it is, as long as the number being sacrificed is smaller than the number supposedly being benefited, then they can claim the mantle of being benevolent, that they're really helping society.
Doesn't that go back to the military ideal of I'm going to put 100 troops out there to draw in the enemy? That 100's going to get killed, but then we're going to win the battle, and that'll save more of our troops in the end.
That is exactly the philosophy we're talking about.
I knew a little bit about you. My fiance is a big fan of yours, and he's introduced me to your InfoWars site and that kind of thing. And, you know, I have it on my favorites, and I look it up, and I listen to you at work and stuff. But what amazes me, well, Bilderberger, the whole group, and who is behind all of this and what they are trying to do to us, people need to wake up and realize that our government's not for us. Not anymore. What happened to our founding fathers? I went to Washington last year to tour Washington, D.C., and what I read from statements of our founding fathers, they'd be rolling over in their graves right now.
Have you heard about the shots they give you to, quote, cure you of cigarette smoking?
Well, yeah, I've heard something about that.
Okay, what they do is they go in with live viruses and actually attack the brain and actually kill the neuroreceptors and kill whole ganglia of nerve bundles, and actually causes a virus-induced lobotomy to where you do not have the same endorphin uptake level.
Wow. No, I didn't hear.
See, it's the most blasphemous, massive evil you can imagine that actually attacks the brain, and the average people aren't even aware of it, and they're trying to make it mandatory in England and the U.S.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
I mean, but I'm not kidding. You can't make this type of stuff up.
Right.
It is a virus that literally attacks the brain.
I just don't get that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
I don't get it either.
It's hard for me to fathom.
It's hard for me.
The government doing this to us.
We have to realize that we're not machines. We're not economic processes. We are human beings. We are people, and we are Americans, and we are citizens, which means we have responsibilities, and which means also that we have privileges and rights. We're not consumers. We should get away from this whole concept of whatever we can get at the lowest cost, because we have to think that there are things that go beyond all this that are more important than money. And as long as we keep buying that kind of rationale for our thinking, we're going to keep sinking further and further into this morass, and we're going to be even more susceptible to the kind of technocratic dictatorship that you have been talking about.
Well, again, Mr. Obeah, you went right to the documents and found the same thing. I'm just going off what they say. In fact, right over here, for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, and it's clear I'm going to get you up for a full 2 hours in the near future, because your knowledge is so great. It's so refreshing and buoying when I do connect with people like you who see it, because we're literally losing our soul. But here's National Intelligence Council, ISS, European Union, Global Governance 2025 at a critical juncture. Give me a document cam shot. And the National Intelligence Council, Global Trends 2025, a transformed world. They say that by 2025, they're going to have us totally drugged, totally brainwashed, and that they're going to start genetically engineering us as literal suboids. I'm not the one saying this. And that they're going to just basically kill the majority of us. Has your research brought you into this? Because I'm showing these reports. I've read the quotes, you know, in the last 2 years on air. I mean, this is so diabolical. This is what they call full spectrum dominance. Did you run into any of the transhumanist, eugenicist, human engineering plans when you were researching these people?
No, fortunately, those are top secret, and I was not granted top secret access to those things. That's something however, I know that those are subjects that Rand obviously has looked at. I wouldn't say to be fair about this, I wouldn't say that they are totally involved in this. But what you have to realize is that if you set the parameters, if you set the background, if you say, yeah, you can do that because that is a rational thing to do, you're falling into that kind of trap. So even though they may not be the ones who actually set up the test tubes, who actually shoot you give you the injection, they're the ones who are saying that is the right thing to do, and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, they're the brains that set up the new philosophy or thought paradigm that says survival of the fittest, because that's what they state. They say if we don't do this, someone else will do it, and they say if we don't have full spectrum dominance, somebody's going to set up a new weapon system that will destroy the earth. So we've got to take over with pure hard-nosed evil, kind of like Churchill said, the truth must be guarded by a bodyguard of lies.